So this video will be a little different again compared to the previous, dozens of videos I posted with a lot more visuals. Because in this video I just wanted to kind of put my thoughts out there after discovering, or basically hearing online, seeing that Bob Proctor had passed away. Now, if you've been following his work, maybe you are a student of his work, or maybe not. Regardless, he used to be my mentor, and I just wanted to kind of put this out there, how this man really changed my life. I mean, he had such a profound impact on everything that I actually know about consciousness came mostly through him. Through the wisdom he possessed by studying the mind in his own way for, by the time he passed away, it was like almost 60 years, or maybe it was around that amount of time that he studied the mind throughout his lifetime. So that's a long time. Currently I'm going on at 14 years, so he was pretty advanced in his knowledge about everything concerning consciousness and how to manifest your dreams, your greatest life, and the things that you really wanted, basically. Now, how did I end up actually discovering about Bob Proctor? Well, I guess it happened like most people way back in 2007 when the book The Secret was just fairly new and just coming out. I think it officially came out in 2006, but it was around 2007 that I actually started taking this book serious. I started reading it and really thinking about what I was reading. And it was one of the very first books that I read concerning the law of attraction and the power of consciousness. And I remember there were some ideas in that book that really stirred something inside of me. I could feel this is powerful information, but yet at the same time I've never heard about this from anyone else throughout my entire lifetime so far. Well, at the time I was fairly young still. I was like 17 years old, so not that long on the planet yet. But basically what I'm getting at is that throughout those years, my parents, my friends, teachers at school, I never met anyone that talked about the law of attraction to begin with. But of course, he was featured in the book as well. Very early on in the book, he has something like, if you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. That is, I think, a quote of his in both the movie and in the book. And man, when I heard that quote for the very first time, it was so incredible to me. It was like instantly I knew, holy shit, this is powerful stuff, and I know this is true, but I can't quite grasp why it is true. But I can sense in my soul, this man is not lying. He is sharing something so profound with me, I should never forget about it. And I never did. But of course, at that time in my life, due to personal reasons, I was only sticking to The Secret because my home situation wasn't the greatest. And I won't get into that because it's not about anything that happened in my past particularly for this video. But if we go a little into the future, then in 2008 I finally moved on to myself, and that's when I started to think, okay, I gotta study Bob Proctor's material. There's something about this guy, man. When he talks, it's so powerful, it's so fascinating, it's so much fun. Like, I get so excited, and I'm like, oh man, I'm learning more and more about my own potential, about the power of my mind. I want to apply it, and that if it works, if it really works, I want to share this with my friends and family. I want to share this with the world in my own way. That's basically what I felt back then when I was 18 in 2008. So I first started reading more and more of his books. For the first few years of getting into this material, from 2008 to the end of 2010, I would just read books and watch some seminars on DVD back then. Can you imagine that? DVD sounds so prehistoric by now in this day and age, because we use streaming services or watch movies on Blu-ray discs, etc. But I would be like watching his DVDs of The Science of Getting Rich and other coaching programs I would buy off his website. I was like, I need everything. I know it sounds kind of ridiculous perhaps to some people, but I was so obsessed. I was hooked, but not in a bad way. Like, you can get hooked on the self-help books and materials in such a way that you're not really progressing or improving your life. But in my case, I was both progressing, improving things in my world and achieving goals, and I wanted to know more and more so that one day I could perhaps teach it in my own way to people, right? To share this power of consciousness with others. So it was all the way up until the end of 2010 that I finally made the decision to actually contact his company, which was then called Life Success Productions, or maybe just Life Success. I don't know. It was something along that line, and I got in touch with some person in his. I guess that would reply to emails from people that want to apply to the coaching program, because he has a 13-month coaching program, and it's still there to this day. Although, I guess now the sad part is in a way that he won't be there to specifically coach anyone, because back then we would have these phone calls, etc. But I'll get into that in a little bit. But basically, I contacted someone from their company, and he said, well, you know, you would probably be a good fit for this coaching program, but here's the price. And then he said it was like $8,000. And at the time I was like 20, I think, if I remember correctly, or 21. That's kind of silly. I don't even remember my own age. Like, what's wrong with me? But anyways, it doesn't really matter what my age was, but that was a lot of money. I was like, $8,000? I don't have that right now, but I really want this coaching program. And he would say, well, if you really want it, you'll probably attract ways on how to generate that income. Just believe in it. Trust in this process, man. So it was absolutely ridiculous, because I didn't know anybody that had $8,000 at that time. None of my friends did. Well, maybe my dad would have it, but I was not going to randomly ask him to lend me that amount of money, right? That's kind of ridiculous. But I just didn't really know anybody that earned that kind of amount of money very quickly. And that's kind of what they were saying, because it was the end of 2010. And they said, well, the coaching program will begin very soon for the new students. So if you don't apply now, then, well, you can always apply later on. I don't really remember the particulars, but there was some reason why it would be best if I could enroll at the end of that year as well. So it was sort of like November that I talked to him. Oh wait, no, the first phone call was around September, and then months passed by, and it was in November or the start of December that suddenly a lot of money came into my possession. And it was kind of out of nowhere, but I won't share the amount or anything, but at least I had all the money that I needed in order to enroll in this coaching program. So I instantly did it. I instantly contacted this guy. I said, well, I have the money. I can enroll now. I didn't know how this happened, but it just happened. And he was like, that's how these things goes, and that's what we teach people over here. So welcome aboard. Let's go. And, you know, that's when I enrolled in this coaching program, where I got to have some very interesting, well, questions I could ask Bob Proctor. And sometimes, very rarely, they would allow us to actually talk with him like I'm talking into the microphone right now. We could talk to him through the computer, like on a voice chat, like basically a phone call online, you could say. And man, I mean, I remember I was so excited, man. I was like, I'm talking to this guy from the Secret, and his stuff inspired me so much, man. So I was really trying to stay as calm and professional as possible, so to speak. I was just like, okay, just relax. He's just a human being like anybody else. So don't get all kind of crazy where it's like, oh my god, I'm talking to some god or something in the flesh. But because that would be a little over the top, even for him, I suppose. I'd imagine at least. But you know, he taught me a lot of great things, because back then this was a 13-month coaching program. It was about multiple different programs that they also sell individually to their website, but then you can enroll through all of them over an entire year to really change your paradigm, your way of thinking about yourself, your belief structure, etc. All of it would be addressed, and it's up to us, of course, to ultimately change it. And so what I discovered was I really had this desire to really want to help people, to teach them about this wonderful power of consciousness. And you see, I had an issue back then. I mean, I was 21, and I remember specifically or regularly ask him, Bob Proctor, and others within the company, like, you know, I really want to teach this, but for some reason I feel like I can't do it. And if they ask me why couldn't you do it, I would say because of my age. I feel like I'm too young for this. I even had people back then in private sometimes tell me, if I said, well, I want to become a coach, they would say, aren't you a little young to be a coach? I mean, you're like 21, like, what kind of information do you have that older people could benefit from? You're a young guy, you don't have a lot of life experience, this and that. That's usually what I heard, and that kind of caused me to doubt in myself for quite some time. But Bob would always remind me, you know, it doesn't matter what your age is, Renee. How old would you be if you forgot your age? This and that. And he said, you're learning this from the best of the best in the industry, in the world. You can help people young or old. It doesn't matter, because if you show them this powerful information can transform their lives. If they can really see it for themselves, they won't care about your age at all. They just want to learn from you. That's basically what he would say. And even though he said that, he suggested that, it took me a couple years to really believe in that very thing he told me back then. That I had to not worry over my age. Don't worry about it, man. He would keep saying that. Because I would regularly keep asking this question in different ways. Trying to kind of somehow, I guess, get an answer that would instantly transform my life. I guess that's what I was hoping for, but it didn't happen. Ultimately, it's about me changing my own belief structure around so that I can then apply his advice or anybody else's advice. So ultimately, you see, these videos as well that I'm making currently for my channel, it was heavily inspired by him. And that's actually really beautiful. I never really thought about that carefully, but now that he's gone, I realized, whoa, I'm actually so grateful for all the things that he taught me back then in 2011, but also the fact that years after that, I would always kind of look forward to reading new books that he might publish or some new seminar footage that might be available online for me and others to watch back, because I didn't really attend any seminars in person that he gave, but digitally I would always be on top of that. And every time, man, I kid you not, every time I would watch one of his seminars, man, I get that same excitement again. I feel like so much power is being shared through his wisdom, his words, like so much insights where you're like, whoa, this is freaking powerful, man. Let's apply this. Let's apply this right now. That's literally how I always feel whenever I study his material. It really fires me up. It turns me on, man. It sets something in fire in me and want to do good things for this world, to be my best self and to do good things for us, to overcome all the negativities of my own personality and life. And every time I would listen to him, I would feel that and I would just run with that. I would keep going. Now, ultimately, because he would always say age doesn't matter, I guess I developed the confidence finally in a sort of roundabout way to make my YouTube content as well. Because had I not changed that belief system, right, even now in my 30s, early 30s, I might still potentially worry a little bit here and there that, well, people in their 50s or 60s might not take me serious because I'm such a young guy, right? It's so stupid, man. Although I'm kind of guessing that maybe even if I was a little insecure in my early 20s, that by the time I reach my 30s, maybe in general I would be more confident. I hope that is the case for most people, I don't know. But for me, for some reason, I used to always be a very shy and withdrawn person and not really, feel comfortable just talking to strangers, etc. Like, I would always be very self-conscious about everything. So being a coach that is constantly so self-conscious is not gonna really work. It's gonna make your life a little annoying and stressful. But ultimately, again, it was through him that I learned to get over that. So in 2015, as I said, it happened all in a roundabout way. First I started a different YouTube channel, which I won't get into the details, but at least I started something. It took me years to really work on my belief system, but then I was like, but I really want to be a YouTube content creator. And Bob Proctor would always say that, you can achieve anything you want, man. If you can do it all, you just have to change your paradigm and really live up to this potential, to this vision. It was him that also said, you gotta let the dream in your mind control the way you think, and not the present results and limitations that you observe, man. And I really worked with that, and I became pretty successful in my own way at the time, as a YouTube content creator with another channel, of course. And I knew, again, it was because I applied what he preached. So that's my suggestion for anybody else out there as well, that probably has touched your life. He has perhaps changed your life dramatically. But never ever forget to just keep applying this wonderful information that he shared in his own beautiful way, because it can transform our lives for the better and the world ultimately at large as well. He would also beautifully talk about stuff from Neville Goddard. He would always say that people should study his books, Awaken Imagination, The Power of Awareness. All these great, wonderful books. I've learned about them through him as well, for the most part. Like all the hundreds of books that I've read by now, many of them came by his suggestion, because in his coaching programs or calls, he would just randomly mention a few books here and there, and I would just jot it down. I was like, okay, let me check this out, because everything he studied and considers powerful must be good enough for me to apply and use in my own life then. So I'm gonna go follow exactly what he's saying here and there about the suggestions, and yes, it's all very powerful. So ultimately, I owe this man a lot. Like, this whole YouTube channel basically would never have existed had I not been at first introduced to all these concepts of consciousness through him, through his work, and then through his coaching. So I'm forever thankful for that. And, in a way, I feel slightly sad, interestingly enough. It rarely happens that I would feel sad for someone that isn't necessarily family, or in this case, I haven't even spoken to him for 11 years, basically. It was in 2011 that I did that coaching, and then for a couple of years, I would just study his work, but not be in touch with him or anybody else from their company anymore. But yeah, I do feel really sad. Well, not incredibly, but a little bit. I think the sad part is just knowing that there won't be any new material of his coming out now, right? So, because I always looked forward to that, and I'm guessing most of you did that followed his work that can agree that his stuff was really powerful and fun to listen to, and then mostly apply and share with anybody around you to see how it could help them out as well. So at the end of the day, as he would say as well, that our souls come and go and will go on with their eternal journey. I'm fairly certain, based on all the near-death experiences you can read about online, that he is having a wonderful time right now, that he's probably in the realms of bliss and cosmic unity, and perhaps even learning more and more secrets of consciousness in the universe at large. So ultimately, don't be sad that he's gone, just be happy that he was here, and most of all, make sure that you use and apply what he teached, because that is all he was mostly passionate about, to help humanity out, to help people out, and how they can improve their lives and really achieve greater fulfillment and success throughout the years that they're here on this planet. And that's the beautiful part about it all. So he will be forever in my heart. Bob Proctor, God bless you. And perhaps we will meet sometime in one of the other dimensions of the universe. If it does happen, maybe I'll talk about it on video by then, or maybe I'll just keep it to myself, because it might be a little strange to some people, of course. But these things can occur, right? It is possible for you or anybody else to suddenly meet him in your dream world, where it's like the spirit of somebody enters your dreams, and then you can have a conversation there. And then don't dismiss it as nonsense when it happens. Just see it as something beautiful and useful, if it is meant to happen for you. With that being said, well, let us know in the comment section below if you want how Bob Proctor has changed your life, if you've been a student of his work. And other than that, well, again, rest in peace, Bob Proctor. God bless you. Thank you for everything you've done for me and the millions of people around the world. It was absolutely incredible, the work you did. It has helped me and so many people, and it will continue to help all of us through the spirit of your work. Now, with that being said, dear viewers, never forget that we are the dreamers.